This is Nathan, welcome back to another video. In today's video we are taking a look at a scenario where Australia forms an empire. Wow. Considering the countries I've got left, like major countries, I'm kind of in shock I haven't done Australia. China was the biggest shock. I don't know what too many songs do China. But I can confirm that the next two empire videos will most likely be Australia and South Korea. And after that, we kind of have free will. I mean, like, there aren't really any major countries left. I feel like I've done all of them. But, we're finally giving an oceanic country an empire. I don't know how many episodes this is the 48th episode in the Empire series. I just want to point that out. This is my longest running series, and if it keeps getting the support it's getting, It'll keep going for a while. I don't have any plan to stop it. Now, it took nearly 50 of these Empire videos to finally do an oceanic country, but here we are. Now, Australia. If they wanted to expand, they very well could. Like, I mean, I don't think Australia would expand in real life. No, they definitely wouldn't. But we're going to be buffing Australia, considering their location. And to begin with, their first target is going to be New Zealand, who actually just ends up uniting with them. Yeah, I don't know how possible a union between Australia and New Zealand is, but Australia and New Zealand will unite together, and Australia and New Zealand will unite together, and it's time for the next war, which is time for actually our first war, because Australia will be invading Papua New Guinea. So Australian troops will land over here in this area and begin pushing around, mostly focused on capturing Port Moresby, which is over here. So we actually see another naval landing being made right here, which cuts off this area from Papua New Guinea. And here we see troops begin to push down. Now, I know Papua New Guinea's a mess right now, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not actually sure. But these troops will push down and will eventually get down to Port Moresby as they capture it, and this entire area will just fall. And with that gone, Australia will now focus on capturing the coast, which they do. And at this point, Papua New Guinea has nothing left. I mean, it's interesting. Papua New Guinea is a very interesting country. I'm pretty sure all this stuff is right on the border there. So let's take a look at the peace treaty. And just like that, we see that Papua New Guinea is fully annexed into Australia. Now, Australia's next targets are going to be the Solomon Islands, which I'm just going to fill this. They would most likely take over all these oceanic islands, so let me just fill it in. There we go. There we go. Now I know New Caledonia and some of these islands are definitely owned by outside power countries. We can just say Australia bought them. Anyway, what's Australia's next target? Well, it's going to be Timor-Leste. Now, I don't know how Indonesia would feel about this, Australia just going on a field and invading their neighbours, but I don't know if they really care about Timor-Leste getting invaded. But anyway, oh Jesus. Anyway, troops will make a land in Timor-Leste and will actually... Timor-Leste stands no chance. It's called East Timor. It's called East Timor and Timor-Leste. Is this the first time... I think this might be the first time I've ever mentioned Timor-Leste. They ain't getting an empire. Oh God. Oh no, they ain't getting an empire anytime soon, God, no. Anyway, that's basically all of Australia's weak targets invaded. Now what? Well, they go on a bit of a... They stop, because, well, they took over all Oceania and took over Timor-Leste. That might start to give them a bad look, so they stop. Until, they decide to go back on expanding. And Australia's next target is going to be probably the toughest war in this entire video. God's sake. They're going to be declaring war on Indonesia. Now, Australia is, in real life, I think they're stronger than Indonesia. Maybe, I'm not actually sure. But here Australia is going to declare war and is going to try their best to get a hold of as much land as they can. So, the war begins, and almost immediately troops from Papua New Guinea will enter into the other side of the New Guinea island. And the goal here, take over New Guinea. Not only that, we see that troops will quickly leave Timor-Leste and capture this area. And we'll now start island hopping across some of these islands. Get into this island before they are stopped by the Indonesian army. We'll see them do it. Oh my god. We'll see them do it with these two islands. And we have a successful landing being made in this island up here. I need to learn the name of this island. Troops move around on this island, but this island will just kind of fall over to Australian control. And we also see New Guinea fall. And here is where the war starts to get really tough. Australia will be able to capture this island and will, in a very bloody war, be able to make a landing in Java where they meet at a stalemate. So what do? Well, they begin an invasion of Borneo, which also they meet a stalemate. So they try another naval landing, which also leads to a stalemate. So Australia will do multiple naval landings across the coastline line this front, and it very but slowly expanding it out until eventually this doesn't move. We officially have a stalemate between Australia and Indonesia. Yeah, Australia ain't moving through this country. Even if Australia is buffed, Indonesia is such a popular country, I think they'll be able to hold them off at this rate. So we have an agreement being made between Australia and Indonesia, which is going to be a peace treaty, so let's take a look at that peace treaty. As you can see in the peace treaty, Australia will be annexing all these islands. So let me get rid of the border. Oh, Jesus Christ, I forget how small this island is. Let me get rid of the border here. So they'll be annexing a good amount of land, which is definitely going to help them with, like, resources and all that. But even with the successful expansion into Indonesia, Australia just doesn't think it's enough. I mean, you know, this empire is... I think this would probably be where Australia would honestly stop, but this isn't where they're going to stop. Australia will now begin to mobilise its navy yet again, as they now will hover off the this island of Philippines. And if you can't see where this is going, then I don't know how you wouldn't see where this is not going. Australia will declare war on the Philippines. Now, were the Philippines expecting this? Yes and no. They weren't exactly expecting Australia to invade them, but they did have a feeling it could happen. So, 2 landings will be made, one right here, one here, and the goal is to take over this island as quick as possible. And that's exactly what they do, as troops will flood in and flood over the island, splitting it in half, and capturing it. We then see Australia take over these 3 islands, as well as this island. But here's where they start struggling, because they get into the main Filipino areas. They'll take over this island, then take over this island, and then they jump over to this island and take over this, whatever this island's called. But here is where the bloodiest war of Australia starts. The Australian Empire. They begin to expand up into Philippines. And once they reach Manila, hundreds of thousands of people die in the war. But in the end, Australia will be successful in capturing Manila, basically marking their first actual success in a war. And from here, we see Australia begin to move around a little bit more until eventually the Philippines will surrender. That's not the bucket. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. In the peace treaty, Australia will be annexing all the northern islands and just leaving the Philippines to this island, which somebody might invade. But here we see Australia basically done with their empire. I mean, if we're being realistic, this is where Australia would actually be done. Like, they've expanded into 2 very strong neighbours, so they have nowhere else to go. So, where would they expand? Well, looky over here. We have Madagascar. Australia decided that for their last expansion, they're going to be invading Madagascar. But before that, boop, boop. Yeah, these 2 islands just suddenly turn Australian. And that's probably for a base for the troops to be ready for the invasion of Madagascar. Now, if you thought the Philippines expected an invasion from Australia was, you know, they expected it. Madagascar did not expect this. Like, they did not have any idea this was even planned. This is basically like Russia Russia invading Mongolia. Like, they would have no idea this was happening. But troops will land and will begin to expand out from here. And their main goal is to capture, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but the main goal is to capture the capital, which they push out and do. And here we see Australia begin a tactic. They begin cutting Madagascar into multiple pieces. Like, multiple pieces. And I don't know what this strategy is, but it's trying to starve Madagascar, I guess. It's kind of the strategy they used in World War II against Iran, but after splitting Madagascar into a bunch of pieces, it eventually just surrenders. And in the peace treaty, I'm not going to pause the video for this, Australia will be fully annexing Madagascar. I feel like I was going to say something, but I don't want to say it. I was going to say, I feel like I haven't talked about Madagascar much. But anyway, Australia will fully what is this? Oh, okay. Australia will be fully annexing Madagascar, basically giving them a little vacation spot. And if they wanted to, they could expand more into Africa. But I'm not too sure if, well, Africa and the whole world exactly like that. But anyway, that is going to do it for What If Australia Formed an Empire. Definitely more of a short one, I know. I don't know what else I can do with this empire, honestly. Like, this is kind of it. This is probably why I didn't do Australia. I just didn't think it'd make a good video, but hey, here we are. Australia has now, I finally gave Australia an empire. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.